Hey, what's up, guys? It's Spudgies or Big Chomper, and today I'm just going to be doing a little Black Rook Hold plus 27 commentary. I know it's been quite a while since my last video. I definitely did not expect to pick up as much traction as I did. Um, I think it's so awesome how many subs I've gained just from those few videos, and how many comments and interactions there were. So I thought that was really cool. I love the questions. I definitely know a lot about dev, and I want to share that with you guys. And honestly, there's some questions that you guys ask that I'm like, oh, I'm not sure, and it makes me research and learn more about the spec and class as well. So it's a really good time. So definitely leave more in the comments. I'm thinking about setting up a really simple Discord with just like help tickets, or not help tickets, but like a little form feature where people can just ask any questions about dev and have any, and we can just basically have some discussion. And it can kind of be like a my YouTube Discord as well. I don't know how many people would really join, but yeah, I was thinking it would be kind of a cool community feature and stuff like that. But regardless of that, today I'm going to be doing this commentary. So I went over the talents and all that in my last video in the Everbloom one. But just in case we have any new viewers that didn't watch my previous video, I do want to go through them again. I don't know if I'll be as thorough as I was in my first one. Um, However, I do want to give the key points and explain causality and how a few talent interactions go. So if you already know all this, feel free to skip ahead. I'll try to add timelines and things like that in the description. Um, but if you want to, learn again, then be my guest. So this is the talent build that I typically run for Mythic Plus with a lot of variants. I'll talk about the spec tree first. So you're never really going to deviate from this build right here. Dev really only has two builds. We have this right here. This is our single target build, pure single target. Sorry, that's not our pure single target. This is our pure single target build. This is our two target cleave build. And this is our AoE build. So this is really, so just refresh. This is, you're never really going to deviate from this. You're always going to have these capstone talents: causality, scintillation, iridescence, and everything else right here. The only deviation is eternity span and 1 point of honed aggression, and engulfing blaze and power nexus and volatility. That's literally it on the devastation tree, as sad as that is. So the really key talent for AoE is volatility, right? So volatility makes your pyres bounce at 30%. So every pyre you lob out has a chance to bounce to the next person. What's really cool about this talent that a lot of people don't know is a pyre that has already bounced runs another percent chance to bounce again. So technically one pyre can bounce between a whole entire pack if you get lucky enough. Now statistically, that's never really going to happen, but that's how the interaction works. What that means is there's a lot of implications for this for causality. So causality is disintegrate. Every tick on disintegrate reduces our empowered abilities by 0.50. And for PYRE, depending on how many targets PYRE hits, it can reduce up to 2 seconds for our empowers, which most likely in AoE it's going to be 2 seconds. So why this is really cool is every time a pyre bounces, it can reduce. It can reduce. It triggers causality. Sorry. So in theory, one pyre, if there's enough targets, can reduce our empowereds down to 0 if it bounces enough and there's enough targets to bounce between, which is really cool. So that's kind of the understanding for how strong pyre is and why volatility really is so strong in AoE. Like one, pyre just does great damage, but even more than that, it's ticking down our empowereds and keeping us in dragon rage longer and just making us more powerful altogether, which is awesome. So that's kind of how that talent works. That's really the only wonky interaction in the tree. Oh, there's another one, I guess, Shattering Star. So I guess I can go to a little thing right here and show you. So how Shattering Star's damage is computed is on cast. As long as the debuff is on there, like if I were to launch a spell before my Shattering Star debuff falls off, even though it connected after my Shattering Star fell off, it still receives the effect there. So that's another kind of weird interaction, but that's not really, I guess, important for AoE. For Mythic Plus, it's really just understanding how volatility and causality works and kind of stuff like that. So Iridescence Red and Dragon Rage is another one I really sent home in the last video, and people were actually, going kind of crazy over that in my whispers to me and messages to me about how cool that interaction was. So actually, Dragon Rage is considered a 1 GCD press, and it functions the same as PYRE, right? So clicking Dragon Rage is just like clicking PYRE. What that means is that Dragon Rage can consume the same effects that PYRE consumes. So PYRE can consume Iridescence Red, and it can also consume Charged Blast. So if I can somehow talent into these, I can show you real quick. So I'll just do some blue damage, and this little number right here is my Charged Blast, or whatever, my Charged Blast stacks. And now that I have some blue stacks, I'm going to build up Iridescence Red. So I have Iridescence Red right there, and you can watch my Dragon Rage, the 3 pyres will consume Iridescence Red and that. So as you can see, I went down 1 stack of Iridescence Red, and I also consumed all those Charged Blasts, and I did like almost 2 million damage in 1 second on 5 targets. So on 10 targets, that's even more, right? So that's a really cool interaction that Dev has, and it's how you can front load a lot of your AoE and get the most out of those 3 pyres from Dragon Rage. So I'll be doing that a lot in the video. So I don't obviously play with Charged Blast. That's kind of like an only Tendril type beat thing. But it is a really cool talent, and more so Iridescence Red. So all 3 of the pyres, or just to reiterate, all 3 of the pyres that are shot out from Dragon Rage consume the effects. So every single pyre, all 3 of them, will be plus 20% from Iridescence Red. And if you were playing with Charged Blast, it would also consume the 20% damage buff as well. And it would stack on top of it. So really strong stuff. But that's basically it for the spec tree. That's kind of the only things that are a little bit hidden interactions in here. And regarding the class tree, so I said this in the last video, Dev is significantly handicapped by its class tree budget. Compared to AUG, who can take Oppressing Roar, Rescue, Source of Magic, Time Spiral, like all this shit without any issue, Dev is locked into a lot of talents that we just have no choice but to take. For example, we have to take Enkindled. That's 2 talent points for more Living Flame damage. We do a lot of Living Flame damage, so that's 2 points that we have to take. I wouldn't say you have to take Ancient Flame, but I think it makes the kit play a lot nicer. In the APL, Dev actually does use Emerald Blossom and Rescue, Verdant Embrace, to heal up others, and it's no different in dungeons and stuff like that, right? You want to be healing frequently, because I'll tell you what, Leaping Flames plus Living Flame plus Iridescence Red plus full stack Scarlet Adaptation does a ton of damage, like way more than you realize. So we definitely want Enkindled. Other than that, you don't really need innate magic for AoE. It's way more of a single target talent, and even then it's a small upgrade. It's kind of a bait one, and for Mythic Plus we need a lot more utility. So we have to spend points on like Cauterizing Flame, we have to take the Inherent Resistance, Draconic Legacy, and we have to also take Source of Magic, which Source of Magic and Potent Magic you can do something like this if you're playing with an AUG, because they should be providing the Source of Magic, and you can get another Rescue, or if your team needs more AoE, you can go Oppressing Roar, or if you're in one of the, well, I won't say that. But yeah, you can just, basically, if you're playing with an AUG, you can omit these, but if you're not, always take them, because more damage and healing on the healer is really, really good for a key. Unless you're just genuinely super scared about dying to a mechanic, like you just don't think you're tanky enough, then you could take Rescue with Twin Guardians as pretty much a personal for yourself to survive through a really big hit. But other than that, we're always taking Renewing Blaze. This is an insanely good personal. And we're also always taking Regenerative Magic. This talent is so good for Devastation because Devastation gets 5% leech, and in AoE, leech is king. It just does so much healing to you, like a pyre you lob out. All the AoE damage it does heals you back. It's very, very, very good. So we're never going to take this out for AoE. Like, we just always want this. It's so good. In regards to, like, if you're doing some of like the Dawn of the Infinite dungeons, you can get rid of Ancient Flame for Unravel. That's really good. But in Black or Cold, we don't need Unravel. So I would just take either Ancient Flame or Terror of the Skies, maybe on a Fort week, or Pressing Roar, or Time Spiral. It's kind of up to you. I always take Ancient Flame, but I think honestly, Terror of the Skies is a lot more useful than Ancient Flame. For AoE, it gives you a stun, and Deep Breath is pretty good in Mythic Plus. So, yeah, I would say, kind of to summarize all of this, you have to take most of these talents with some variance in Unravel, Terror of the Skies, Source of Magic and Potent Magic, Rescue and Twin Guardians, and if you don't need Zephyr, which I doubt is the case ever, you can maybe take a Pressing Roar or something like that. On Raging Weeks, we always do a Pressing Roar with Overall. And for, what's the word? Incorporeal, you always take Sleepwalk. Other than that, it's kind of up to you. We do have a little bit of wiggle room, but not nearly as much as Og. So, yeah, that's basically it for the talents. It's everything I wanted to touch on. Again, if you wanted to hear me say basically all of this in maybe a more, I don't know, cohesive format, you can go back and watch the start of the Everbloom video. But I just wanted to touch on that for any new viewers for your knowledge. All right, so getting into the actual key now. So this is a 27 Black or Cold. I'm running the same talent loadout I showed you here. I believe the affixes here were like Volcanic something. It was a really easy affix week that I didn't need to provide anything for. So a quick note on PI. So this group composition right here, you have to look up the dev simulations and look at PI, because PI is very strong for you. Not as strong as it used to be. We used to be the #1 class in AoE with PI. Now that's Beastmaster Hunter, but we're still very good with it. And in comparison to an Enhanced Shaman and a Windwalker Monk, I'm definitely the PI target. But the thing about the WoW community is a lot of them have never played with a Devastation Evoker, or they haven't for a very long time. So you have to advocate for yourself and basically tell them, like, hey, please PI me. I'm the best PI target here. And just hope they follow suit. I always have to tell them I'm not Og, please PI me, because they just think I'm messing around or trolling if I don't specify. So that's a good note on PI. So in regards to this dungeon overall, it's a very good Devastation Evoker dungeon. I would say you can do a lot of great damage on all of the bosses, especially the second one and the third one. I think Dev is really good at. I think the fourth one we're okay at. The first one we're also very good at. We have great AoE for the little witches that come out, or whatever they are. Ghost girls. I kind of lost my train of thought, but I'm just gonna let it play. This first pole is really the only dangerous part of this dungeon. Like, this first pole, it's easy to just farm deaths. So as a Devastation Evoker, kind of coming into this pole, what I'm telling myself is I need to just ass blast as much AoE damage as I can here. There are some focus targets, and I think it's the Protector you want to burn down. It could be the Counselor. I'm not exactly sure, or the Retainer. Everything is really deadly here. But you can pre-coordinate with your group, and if they say we need to burn the protector or something like that, then just disintegrate into it. I know it kind of blows to lose that AoE damage, but if something needs to die, we do have great funnel, and we can do that. You know what I mean? Um, but I think here we have an enhancement shaman. An enhancement shaman does insanely good funnel. So the Windwalker and I can really just focus on doing great AoE damage while the enhancement shaman just funnels into the target. So as I'm preparing for this poll, I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to Nimways as he gathers them up, and I'm going to ideally Nimways on the target he has the most threat on, or the target I think he has the most threat on. And then I'm going to prime my AoE. So I've already set up, before the key, by the way, if you tip the scales, I'll show this, tip the scales before the key's in, you actually retain it as the key starts without tip the scales going on cooldown. So you essentially get 2 free uses of tip the scales. I sometimes mess up and click it on accident. I might do that here, I'm not sure. But ideally, you want to start the pull off with Nimways. And then you want to use the tip to scales that you already had from the key before the key started. Fire Breath, Pot, Shattering Star, Dragon Rage, and then tip the scales Eternity Surge, and then start pyring. That would be the best ideal rotation, because with that rotation, you're getting Fire Breath, you're getting the Iridescence Red from Fire Breath, and then all 3 of the pyres from Dragon Rage are going to be empowered. And you also get your Eternity Surge at max value by sending it with Tip the Scales. So it's just an insanely strong opener that does a lot of damage. So let's see if I do that here. So Nimways, should pot, tip the scales, Shattering Star, Dragon Rage, tip the scales, Eternity Surge, and then I just start pyring. You want to send Fire Breath always at max rank, and on a pull size like this, actually at 8, let me actually pull up the chart. All right, I was able to pull it up. So I showed this in my last video as well. This is Preheat's kind of Wowhead resource. It's a really great resource for dev evokers. We have a really strong spec writer, so definitely reference this guide a lot. But inside of Dragon Rage, at 8 to 9 targets, oh, okay, good. At 8 to 9 targets, we send Eternity Surge in Dragon Rage at rank 1, which means that we're not charging it up all the way. And the reason for this is that when we're in Dragon Rage at 8 to 9 targets, Eternity Surge is just a vehicle to extend Dragon Rage longer. We don't actually care about the damage when the target count is very high, because it's way more efficient to just slam a Pyre out. Because Pyre 1 is an insta-cast, and it doesn't take all the time to charge up, and it's uncapped damage. So Eternity Surge just can't really keep up at higher target counts, and it has a really weird and complicated target count range. But the way I kind of follow it is like at 4, I always send at rank 2, no matter if I'm in Dragon Rage or if I'm not or whatever. And if I'm anything past like 5 to 7 and I'm in Dragon Rage, I'll just do rank 1 and keep pyring. It just feels better to me. Although the APL and the Sims might tell you at 6 actually do 3. If it's above like 4, I pretty much just do rank 1. And outside of Dragon Rage, I'll pretty much always charge it up to hit every target I can. Because when you're in Dragon Rage, you have infinite Essence Burst, right? You can just keep pyre as much as you want. But outside of Dragon Rage, you have to wait for Essence to regenerate. You don't exactly have infinite Essence Burst. So the time spent charging up Eternity Surge is actually good, because it gives time for Essence to regenerate, and other things like that. Because if you just send rank 1 outside of Dragon Rage, you're going to become Essence starved and just spamming Azure Strike, which isn't a very good use of your time. So that's a quick note on Eternity Surge. But getting back to the poll, so I just sent Eternity Surge at rank 1, and I think now I'm going to pyre more. And once they get lower health, I'm going to Dragon Rage. Well, I guess Deep Breath. I guess I'm in Dragon Rage, so it doesn't matter. But as a habit, you should just Dragon Rage or Deep Breath when targets are lower health, because just like Dragon Rage, you benefit from the full effects of your mastery in Deep Breath. Um, oh, okay, this is a great note. So right here, just wait for it to build up. So right here, you can kind of see all of these stormings just spawned. And I am playing with, 2 melee DPS. These stormings are a pain in the ass for them, especially in this enclosed hallway. A really great use of Deep Breath on storming weeks is actually to just fly through and eat all of the stormings at once, because Deep Breath is technically a full CC cleanse and anything like that. So you can just fly through stormings and just eat them all up and clear the way for your melee DPS. It's awesome, and they will love you for it. So right here, I see all the stormings are piled up. Send my Deep Breath, and as you can see, I just ate like half of them. I missed one of them, but still way better. Even though that was, it wasn't a dangerous Deep Breath for Dragon Rage. But right here, I'm just trying to spam PYRE as much as I can and get my empowers off CD, because as you see, it's getting kind of close, and I want to remain in Dragon Rage as long as possible. I'll just let it play while I explain this next part. So our tier set kind of brings with it a very unique style of play. You want to always be thinking about the next pack, because right now we have extremely long cooldowns. Like our cooldowns are spread out over the length of a minute and 30 seconds now or something like that. So if you can, you want to maintain Dragon Rage as long as you can, and carry with you Emerald Trance into the next pack. Now this is like a huge pull, and we're having people die, so it's being elongated. But ideally, if we were like just ass blasting this pull and we got through it, and we honestly are doing a ton of damage, I could maintain Emerald Trance into the next pack. Another note, we have the dot right now. I don't have Renewing Blaze up, but you don't really want to wall you don't want to Obsidian Scales the bleed if you can. I don't think you can cut this off either. You want to Renewing Blaze it, because this is my Scholar Adaptation tracker right here, and essentially every time Renewing Blaze would tick me there, I would get 100% Scarlet Adaptation. So every Living Flame that I'm sending out would just be very, very, very powerful. So you kind of have to think about Renewing Blaze not only as a defensive CD, but also as an offensive CD, because Scarlet Adaptation it makes a very big difference in your damage. It's very considerable. So right here, your instinct might be to save your cooldowns for the boss, and I hope I don't do that here. Yeah, I don't. As a Devastation Evoker, you always want to send your cooldowns whenever you can, and kind of engineer the next boss fight such that you go into it without your cooldowns. And the rationale for that is because of Giant Slayer, your mastery. Ideally, you want to hit Dragon Rage like when the boss is at like 50 to 40% health. So like, give me 1 second. Sorry about that. I was getting a call. I think I was saying something about, yeah, Dragon Rage timing. So in regards to Dragon Rage, you want to engineer it such that you go into the next boss without your cooldown, with your cooldown on cooldown, with Dragon Rage on cooldown, because you want to be clicking it around 50 to 40% health of the boss, because at that point you're ending the boss with Dragon Rage going off CD, or sorry, ending like Emerald Trance going off and everything like that, and you're enjoying the benefits of Giant Slayer as long as you can, because you're already doing pretty great damage at the beginning of a pull, and your damage starts to really fall off as you get towards the bottom half. So if you can, plan the fight such that you're always benefiting from Giant Slayer quite a bit without just Troll holding your cooldowns forever, you're always going to see a gain from that as Dev. And that's just kind of the playstyle that they want to award as a Devastation player. So it's always great to play around your mastery. Even though it's less effective than it used to be, it still is a considerable bump in damage. Um, so this fight is pretty easy overall. The only big damage and dangerous part is whenever he transitions from his intermission phase, and we have really great tools like Zephyr that reduce the damage of that blast, and it makes the healer's job a lot easier. Um, so yeah, I mean that's really the only note I have as a Dev Evoker on this fight. I might have some for the intermission, but really just clicking Dragon Rage as soon as it's available. I want to start stacking Emerald Trance for the intermission phase. And I'm just disintegrating, clipping when I can, and going to extend Dragon Rage as long as I can.
Targeted. 3, 2, 1, dodge. 3, 2, 1.
All right, so this is actually pretty great timing. As the intermission is happening, I have Emerald Trance popped up. And this is fine because, I'll pause it for a second, because all of these ads are at 100% health anyways. So I'm able to essentially do a lot of damage to them as they spawn in and benefit from Giant Slayer, while also benefiting from Emerald Trance, while I was also pumping the boss around like 60 to 40% health, benefiting from Tyranny and Giant Slayer when I normally wouldn't that much. So this is pretty good timing and planning, and because of that, I'll probably actually pull ahead of these guys, even though they have better single target than Dev. So here is kind of difficult to play ideally. I think that you would want to sit like right here and then fire breath the half of the room with the boss as well, because he's fully hittable right now as well. But in regards to stopping them, I don't really make a great effort to stop them here, honestly. But Dev has a lot of tools, right? We have Landslide, where you can, stop them like that. We have Wing Buffet, where we can knock them back. We have Permeating Frost. A lot of people don't know that Dev actually has the Frost passive that reduces movement speed 20 or 50% with our blue spells, so we can go around and if we're really in dire need, just Azure Strike them and slow them down. And if you're having Terror of the Skies, you can also stun them all. So right here, once they kind of get more lined up, I always save my deep breath and line it up for this, and I just essentially do a drive-by and hit them all. And now, once they're grouped up close to the boss, like this, it's a perfect time to tail swipe them all up and start channeling Bellarellos. Because you're going to hit the boss and all of them around you, and it's going to do really great damage. Because once they're low health, is a perfect time to really be looking to use Bellarellos, because Bellarellos is it's agnostic from your mastery. Like your mastery is whitelisted for only devastation abilities. Same with Emerald Trance. Emerald Trance doesn't increase the damage of trinkets or weapons like Iridol. Same with Giant Slayer. So it's best to really use Iridol. Well, you can only use Iridol at low health, but Bellarello's at low health whenever possible. So right there, that was great damage. I want to see how much I actually shoot up here. So my deep breath puts me from 170 to 185. Then I Bellarello's, and that puts me all the way up to almost 200k. So that was great damage. Right here, like I said, this is a huge hit. So honestly, just get everything on cooldown, like Slam, Renewing Blaze, Zephyr, and one stack of Obsidian Scales. Just wall yourself as much as you can. It might be a little overkill, depending on how the healer sets up, but there's a lot of time between here and the next pull. So feel free to just slam everything you can, especially Zephyr. And there you saw we literally took, I don't know. I think he raptured or whatever the cooldown is, but we took no damage. And I'll just kind of let it play from here. There's not too much to talk about. Um, so right there, Dragon Rage came up as the poll ended. Definitely don't click it when the boss has like 10% health left. But if Dragon Rage came up when the boss had like 30% health or something like that, I might still click it. And the rationale for that is that there is a lot of time between killing the boss and going up the stairs and all that. And also, I'm asking the priest for PI because he's PIing someone else. Um, and I'm losing a lot of damage because of it. And not even being greedy. Like it's just group benefit. Like these two are not going to do as much damage with PI as I am. So I'm just trying to use it as best as I can, and the paladin is advocating for me as well. So going up this ramp is a great time to have Dragon Rage available because man, oh man, you could do some fucking batting, dude. So there's a ton of these little spiderlings, and the big spider comes out, and a lot of people actually pull this all the way up as well. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to channel my Nimways as soon as I can, and then I'm going to tip the scales, fire breath, and then launch my Dragon Rage and just watch the damage meter. So right now I'm at 138, and I just shot up to almost a million. Like me and the Windwalker and I are just pumping right here, and it's a very enclosed space as well. So I would normally hold deep breath for the next pull here because PYRE is sufficient right here, right? I don't need deep breath for the damage or anything. But storming started to spawn, and that's annoying for my melee, so I just tried to eat as much of them as I could, and I was able to eat two of them, I think. That's at least the goal there. That's not what happened. Right here, so a note about PYRE. PYRE does damage. The yard range is pretty small. It's stacked AoE damage. So a lot of the times, like while he's grouping my primary target, which is the spinner, which is the most dangerous mob here besides the Arcana, or not even, you just kick that guy. The spinner is definitely the most dangerous here. He's my primary target, so while he's pulling that in, I'll actually take the extra time to just charge up Eternity Surge, because if I were to lob a pyre, it might not connect with all of these mobs here while the mob is moving over. So that's just kind of a way to use Eternity Surge in your powers efficiently, is charging them up more when you have nothing better to do. Because at least charging up your empowers is going to yield some gain rather than sending a pyre that only connects with one mob.
CC.
So right here, oh, that sucks, man. So I definitely should have been able to extend Dragon Rage a lot longer here. Is a really big misplay on my part. Um, so I could have definitely got that by just playing a little bit quicker and faster in the previous encounter as we were walking up the stairs. Like not deep breathing and sending a pyre instead. That would have more than likely given me the amount of time I needed to extend Dragon Rage. So Dragon Rage can be a pretty cruel cooldown in that, if you miss one extension um, early on, then you're SOL, man. You're shit out of luck for a while. Like right now, I could be around like 800k or something, or maybe 700 to 800, and instead I'm floating around like 650 or so because of that loss. Because all the mobs are low health now, and I just it's not competing really. If you see my if you paid attention to my damage drop off, it's been pretty crazy. So yeah, your tank should always pull these guys up and LOS them, and as they come in, you just want to pyre and AoE them down. Um, the mobs you do want to interrupt are the archers, I believe. Like you can just tail swipe them up or wing buffet them back into the wall. Um, to prevent some outgoing damage.
CC.
So while this is all going on, I guess I'll just yeah. I mean, like in regards to okay, as a range, you also want to be in the back because the bleed damage that he does is AOE. So like the priest was standing on me there, and he got the
CC.
or I wasn't really being deliberate, but he also got the bleed, I believe. That is something you can caught off. So caught has a ton of value in this dungeon. In regards to the bleed. So you can caught off the cat bleed there. You can cut off the second boss and a few other things, I believe. So really strong. Yep, right there I trolled as well. Which it kind of sucks that this is like Dev's playstyle to a degree. But I should have just pulled for my tank there. Like I should have just pulled with Eternity Surge and kept my Dragon Rage going. Because I had 2 empowereds there, right? So that's at least, you know, like 10 seconds more of Dragon Rage, and I would have been doing a ton of damage right here. But sometimes it just doesn't work out that way, and we're all dying anyways here, so. Should definitely go right here and tail swipe all these guys up, but instead I'm Bellorelloing. There you go. Kick that. Nice. Yeah. Maybe would have been a good time to deep breath there as well. Okay. And a back. I remember we had a little struggles on this bowl. So again, I'm setting up for this next pull. I'll just be Nimwazing, Tip the Scales, Fire Breath, Dragon Rage, or Shattering Star, Eternity Surge, stuff like that. So Tip the Scales, Fire Breath, yep, Dragon Rage, Eternity Surge, rank 1, and just pyring. In regards to how to spin Leaping Flames, so my general rule of thumb is I do not cast Living Flame without burnout procs and AoE. Like I just don't care to, unless you're going to waste Leaping Flame procs. Like right here is actually a pretty big misplay. You see how I have Leaping Flame? And this just kind of sucks because I didn't get any burnout procs. But I'm actually missing out on a ton of damage here because this is 5 targets. You know what I'm saying? It's not that much more than 4, which is how many my Living Flame, Leaping Flame would hit, and I have full Scarlet Adaptation. That does way more damage than a PYRE or 2, right? Leaping Flames plus Scarlet Adaptation fully charged plus, well, yeah, just those 2 together does way more damage than a few pyres. It does crazy amounts of damage. So I should have full channeled our hard casted Living Flame there, shot it all out, and then charged up my Fire Breath, because right now I'm going to lose a charge of Leaping Flames. That is a really important button that a lot of Dev Evokers don't play around. Oops. You just saw it there. You can kind of see with the numbers, and I wish I had the log for this, but so I just shot out my Leaping Flame, and I think it all did like did upwards of like 60k each hit, something like that. I think it was actually a lot more. Oh yeah, one just crit for like 80 or 90. So yeah, definitely a ton of damage. And I'm just wasting it. So here, just want to keep Dragon Rage going as long as I can, and then ideally carry Emerald Trance into that next pack up there. And that sucks. I should have stopped my Disintegrate channel and kept it going. I actually remember being frustrated right now because I knew I wasn't going to have Emerald Trance for this next pack. And that's just like, you see what I mean? Like, it's just a very kind of restrictive playstyle. Not restrictive, but very tight playstyle with Emerald Trance in the new tier set. There's a lot of skill expression in it, which is awesome, but there's also a lot of headache and frustrations because of that as well. But yeah, here I'm just going to pyre, and I'll honestly take the opportunity to explain how I handle 3-target cleave. So 3-target cleave is one of the more difficult number sets or enemy sets for a lot of Devastation players and just people in general. And the mantra that I follow is if they're all stacked together and pyre will hit all of them, I default pyre because it costs 2 essence and it does great damage with volatility at 3 targets. If I have an essence burst, I will instead disintegrate at 3 targets because that's that's technically 3 essence cost versus 2 essence cost for free, quote unquote, at 3 targets. So disintegrate actually, I believe, pulls ahead at that target count. And if I have Iridescence Blue, I will also channel a Disintegrate as well, at 3 targets. So otherwise, I just fucking send PYRE. So this boss is awesome for Dev, to say the least. You can cut off that bleed, and it makes the healer's job way easy. It's the only thing they have to really heal on this boss. I personally I probably don't caught enough, man. But I caught off whenever I think the healer is in a pinch. Luckily, this healer was pretty good, so she really didn't need it. But I think when it went on me, I just caught it off instead. This is kind of an example of the Shattering Star thing I was talking about as well. So I Shattering Starred right here. And you're going to see, like, I'm going to cast Eternity Search, and it's barely going to go off before a Shattering Star falls off the target. Even though Eternity Search has a cast time or travel time and takes a little bit to hit the boss, because it was casted before this debuff went off, means it will benefit from the buff. Shattering Star is calculated on cast rather than on hit, as opposed to like Fire Mage and other kind of classes. So yeah, I think here I'm able to just tip the scales Fire Breath. Yeah, nice. So Dev has a great time on this boss. You technically can stand still and just jump with this beam, and it won't hit you ever. You can only do that in hover. So if you don't have hover, you can't sit there and do your rotation jumping, because if you jump while you're channeling Disintegrate, it will just cancel it. But when you're in hover, you can just sit still and jump. I don't think I do it here, but you certainly can. How I handle this phase is I just always tunnel on Ravencrest here, because she'll just keep doing this forever until the ads are dead. And Dev has the luxury of having great 2-target cleave, right? So you can just funnel into the boss and you're still doing great damage to the ads. So right here, I just kind of, walk with the thing. And I think I actually jump right here. Okay. Well, I started doing it, but I don't even have the laser, so this gotta look dumb, but whatever. I also should have Bellow Reload. No, I didn't. Yeah, I should have Bellow Reload right here so I could hit both of them, but I don't think I wanted to bring the beam into melee. But honestly, it doesn't really matter. Like, they're melee players, man. They can move while casting, they can move while doing anything, so probably should have just sent it for the dam. But if you look at the damage meter right now, man, I'm just like tearing it up. And this is like all boss damage as well. Like I didn't necessarily target the ads. I didn't pyre. I didn't do anything. I just disintegrated the whole time. But because of scintillation and how good our 2-target cleave is, I'm on top here. Even with an enhancement shaman and a windwalker monk, who also have good damage profiles at that target count, I'm still pulling ahead. So Dev definitely cranks. So yeah, here I just caught that off. And so the next pull after this second boss is a very, very big AoE pull, 9 times out of 10. So you definitely want to try to go into the next pull with Dragon Rage up. Because that's going to be a lot of your damage in this key, and it's going to be a pull that you're going to, in some respects carry. So don't get farmed by the boulders. Always be careful to follow the tank closely here. And then once he pulls these scavenger guys, you want to maintain some distance, because they can breathe fire and one-shot you or barge into you. I think do I die here? I'm not sure. But it feels really bad if you die here. Be very careful when deep breathing here, because if you deep breath into them... Oh, dude, I think I do it. Is it this key? No, I've definitely done it before, where you deep breath into them while they breathe fire, and you just get one shot. It really sucks. But here, it's 12 targets or whatever, so definitely rank 1 Eternity Surge. I want to clear some of these storming ones. Oh, yep, there it is, dude. Luckily, this was after I got off a lot of my damage. You can see I'm hovering around 1 million consistent damage right there. Um, but I was just about to Bellorelos. I was just about to do another Fire Breath. That death definitely sucks, so learn from my mistake and be very cautious with your deep breaths at these on these mobs. So I should be disintegrating here, not pyring. I believe you can oppressing roar overall their hit rage buff off, but if you're playing with a good tank, it shouldn't matter that much. So I'm outside Dragon Rage here, so I just fully charge Eternity Surge, Bellorelos, tip or not tip the skill, Shattering Star, and then just start pyring again. I always want to make the highest health target my main target. So Dev does gain a lot from target swapping. Not necessarily in stacked cleave like this, but it's always just good habit to be targeting the highest health mob in case you do need to, like someone unleashes huge burst AoE and they nuke the other ones and it's time to disintegrate or something like that. You're already targeting the highest health mob, and that's the mob you always want to be hitting as a Dev Evoker. So Dragon Rage is up again, but this pull is ending and we have to go up the stairs. So I'm just going to be holding it. The next part is the Gauntlet. So the Gauntlet is like a huge AoE pad session, basically, if you want it to be. It endlessly spawns these bats that come out until you reach the top. And you, as a Devastation Evoker, can just keep pyring and padding on them. So there's two things, right? Like, one, padding in dungeons is just dumb. You don't get a parse for it. There's nothing like that. So you want to always be hitting the mob priority that you can. I see two sides here, though. The first side is, as a Dev Evoker, you have the potential to clear the pups out and keep it, wrangled. So you kind of keep your group from getting overwhelmed. Like right here, you see I'm just absolutely destroying the pups. But there's the flip side that damage is kind of all pad damage and not important. Like right here, I think that I should be just disintegrating instead of pyring. The other flip side I see to it, though, is that you do have a sort of funnel as an AoE with Pyre, in that you can keep Dragon Rage up a lot longer. So I do see like the empowered reduction and things like that as a really big boon for pyring here, but I still think that overall, like, these mobs would be dead if I was disintegrating them right now, and we would be already moving on. But instead, I'm just YOLO pyring here, and that's frankly not very good. So my recommendation would be, like, if you are kind of on a tighter timer and this is a higher key, definitely you want to disintegrate here instead. And here I kind of like, I'm like, okay, we're going kind of slow. I need to stop trolling. But he runs to the top. I will say once you get straight to the top here, you're perfectly fine to unload AoE Pyre, clear out all the bats, because they're not spawning anymore. It's not fruitless to clear them out. It actually is pretty good to do that. So definitely not bad to Pyre up here, but as you're walking up, pretty troll, honestly. Like the Windwalker probably could be doing comparable damage to me, but I think that they were a little bit more ethical in how they used their cooldowns and Serenity and things like that. So, yeah. So right here, I'm like, oh man, how much damage did I just do to the pups? And I was getting too distracted from the pulls, so I think I just went back. But I was like, dude, I'm trolling. So this boss is pretty easy as Dev. You can move around. You can tank the gaze. You can also tank the knockback really well. Zephyr does reduce the knockback's damage. I don't know if I get a successful one off here, but you definitely want to be using Zephyr if you're coordinating with the healer or something like that on a time where they don't have a lot of damage lined up. So as an evoker, you can move while casting, right? And you're a pretty mobile class overall. So what I did was just kind of troll. I sat there and just did damage. It's Fort week, so like to be fair, the boss is like whatever. But I should be getting to the side or getting to the back or super far front and not dropping this in the middle of the room. This is troll right here. But whatever, I did it. So and because of that, oh no, I keep Dragon Rage going. So as Dragon Rage ends here, I should, yep, nice. Living Flame to get an Essence Burst proc. Essence Burst proc. I think overall I was pretty bad with my defensives here. Like even though the damage was pretty low, I could have still been Renewing Blazed or uh, Obsidian Scales or something to benefit from it. Okay, I Zephyred there. That was good. But overall, this boss is very easy. Um, I don't think there's really much to really talk about here besides you kind of just sit there, disintegrate him, put the lines on the side, mitigate when he does the big stomp, and pretty much just that. That was also nice. Mine went away, but someone just put it right back there, so I guess it didn't matter that much. Uh,
N.
but yeah.
Knock.
So I should Renewing Blaze there, and I think I was late with my Obsidian Scales, honestly. You can hover over these things initially. You can fly over them as well, and they don't do any damage. So if you're in a pinch and you need to get past a lot of them, then yeah. So right here, just kind of thinking about my cooldowns, I know that I want Dragon Rage. Like there's a little bit of time between this boss dying and us walking all the way up to the Coupe de Tot guys. So I just go ahead and send Dragon Rage here, even though I know I'm not going to get huge benefit, full benefit from it. But I don't really care because it's more about lining up my cooldowns for success rather than getting maximum benefit from each cooldown. Um, I know sending it there would lead to me getting it more so up here and even up at the top, and I'm also benefiting from Emerald Trance right now. So it's just going to line everything up a lot nicer. So here I have Bellarello's up, but I could use it at the beginning in oh okay. Uh but I really should use it at low health as I talked about it's agnostic of our mastery, so it's great to use at low health. So right here I troll a little bit, right? Cuz I had like 3 seconds of Emerald Trance left and I had a GCD to use Deep Breath. So Emerald Trance does buff Deep Breath because that is a Devastation ability. And using it outside of the 25% buff window on an AoE pull is just troll. Like, you want to use it with a 25% damage buff, right? Um, okay, I do use it. I do end up using it there. But Deep Breath actually functions as a dot. It does its damage over time. Like, I think it's like 3 ticks or something. And I'm not confident that all the ticks will be increased by if Emerald Trance falls off while it's ticking down. Um, but I did at least get a few ticks there off, so that's great. Always, just overall, always try to get Deep Breath out during Emerald Trance when it's stacked up to 5. Don't use it before. Don't use it necessarily after. Use it once you get to 5 stacks when it's convenient for you, and you can ensure that all the ticks will go through while Emerald Trance is available, or while Emerald Trance is still on your character. Damn, man, die here. I don't really talk this much ever, dude. So these videos always like they make my mouth so dry, man. Which all 2 of them. So yeah. But right here, I die. I think I die again like an idiot. Just greeding cast. Don't greed cast here. Storming makes this area very difficult, frankly, but there's never really a reason to die to Coup d'etat, especially when I have Tail Swipe and Wing Buffet available. Like, right there, that was just dumb on my part. I could have knocked them up, then done my Fire Breath power up, um, or I could have done a Wing Buffet. I could have. I had a lot of tools to prevent that, and not only help myself but help the group. Um, so yeah, don't play like how I did here. Other than that, we're reaching the final boss with 7 minutes left, so we definitely did plow through this dungeon quite a bit. Even with like the kind of trolling that I did on the tower part. But still, that it's not like I was just doing damage for naught necessarily. Like doing damage on the pups isn't a bad thing, especially if you have one person dedicated to it to prevent your group from getting overwhelmed. Um, but yeah, I mean, we're pumping this key. We're doing a lot of damage. We're beating both of these classes, so we're gaming. Always save Bellarellos here for the damage amp phase, which is after the first swarm. And just save Dragon Rage as well. Unless your healer is worried about this first phase, on Tyrannical, this first phase is the most dangerous. The Shadow Bolts that get lobbed out just do an insane amount of damage, and they're random. So it makes the healer like have to keep everyone at 100% health, or someone might die. But on fort in most weeks, like especially if you have cooldowns up as you enter into this demon phase, save them until after the first swarm, and then once the first swarm uh, ends, you get a big damage buff, and then you just want to unload everything you have, like lust, pot, anything like that. We do great 2-target cleave to the swarm. We can also do damage to the boss as well. We're incentivized to swap to the swarm as soon as possible, mainly because of our mastery. And this is the little intermission phase, so we're going to follow everyone around, drop some Emerald Blossoms, maybe Verdant Embrace some of our team. And then as soon as this phase ends, as soon as the boss becomes available, I'm going to start Nimwazing on him. And then we're going to Lust, Dragon Rage, and just start unloading into him. We have a huge damage buff. So you can see just how much damage I kind of dish out right here. I'm at 217k, 213. And I'm already climbing all the way up to 300. 327. And I don't think I dethrone anyone here, but or the Windwalker. But maybe I do. We got 2 targets now, so I might. Oh no, dude, he's pulling ahead. He's gaming. Nice. Rank 1 Fire Breath to keep me in there. Sometimes you just have to cast Fire Breath at rank 1 because you just simply don't have time. Perfect use of Bellarellos at low health outside of Dragon Rage. And we actually forgot like a percent, I think. So the tank, his route was kind of messed up or something. So we just go down and finish the mob off. But essentially we're at 381k. So and yeah, there we are. All right. So I hope you learned something throughout this video. Definitely how I do these videos is I just kind of let it play and basically talk, just say whatever comes to mind about Dev, and just these videos are essentially just a stream of consciousness about Devastation and like what I would do in the moment and how I'm playing and this, that, or the other, and any tips I have. So yeah, if you found it helpful, give it a like and maybe sub, and definitely comment any questions you guys have. I've been really active trying to answer everything possible, and some of you have even DM'd me in game, which has been really awesome. So yeah, always reach out to me and let me know if you have any questions. And as well, I'll think about setting up that Discord server I'll make like a comment or put it in the description if I do, and just see how many people join it and kind of what's the interactivity with there. I know that I don't have like a huge community or anything, but there is like 150 of you guys right now, which is pretty awesome. So, and that's definitely enough to ask a lot of questions in a Discord. So, we can maybe have some really good conversation in there and kind of theory craft stuff. I love theory crafting about dev, like coming up with new talents, thinking about new tier sets, looking into spell interactions, and diving into logs as well. If you guys send me any logs in the comments, I'll look through them and tell you any notes that I have when I get time. Obviously, I can't just sit there and do logs for everyone, but as well in the Discord. So yeah, but thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah, thank you.